Everyone, this is White Wolf, and I wanted to do this live feed real quick and really talk about the dark night of the soul, allowing yourself to really clear what is lingering, what is holding you back, what is limiting you at this moment in time, but also allowing yourself to accept the old self as it was presented to you, and allowing yourself to release and transmute the old energies, the negative energies, so that you are allowing yourself to be present with this new initiation, with this new form of creation, with you realizing that you are God manifested in human form, connecting more and more to your higher self's divinity and the way that your higher self channels through you. So the ability to know oneself and to accept oneself is to have reception beyond your own self and getting past yourself, getting past what you're not able to accept on oneself, your personality traits, the things that you find non-attractive to yourself as a being of attraction. You allow yourself to see that every time that you cleanse the soul and purify the soul, you will have a shift in the direction of the alignment that you're assuming yourself to be. And allowing yourself to see yourself encompass in a much different light here and now is allowing you to see that every time that you release the energies, the toxicities, the expectations that you place on yourself, the old belief systems, you allow yourself to attune to the light of your soul as you're cleansing the dark night of the soul. So dark night of the soul could be past lifetimes, it could be emotions, it could be childhood trauma, it could be something that you're just dealing with within yourself internally and allowing yourself to channel externally. So every time that you do this, you're allowing yourself to change how you feel at this moment. You're changing the direction, you're changing the actualization of it, you're changing the experience and how it's created and generated towards you. So every time that you choose to cleanse the dark night of the soul, you're allowing yourself to see that every time that you do this, you're reaching closer and closer to the divinity that's inside of yourself that wants to showcase itself, that wants to know you. And then you allow yourself to enter a different state of being, completely, a different state of experience, a different state of emulation, a different state of love for oneself and self-care and self-divinity. And you're preserving who you are because you're finally channeling with your heart, you're finally channeling with your love, you're finally channeling with a sense of purity, becoming that effortless perfection of the higher self. So every time that you choose to let go of what is perceived negative, of what projects itself to be negative towards you, you allow yourself in this moment to see that you can change how you feel at this moment in time. The dark night of the soul is not a negative thing. It feels like a negative thing. It feels as if you're going through a lot of different childhood trauma. It feels like you are just reacting to your emotions, or everything is just going more and more crazy. And you might even feel a deep sense of unhappiness or depression. But it means that once you get past that, and once you feel into that and receive it, but also you get past it so that you're not generating that same pattern of being the dark night of the soul. So beingness and awareness and love and understanding of allowance to become the higher self, to become your soul, to become the divinity that you want to become, we have to release the old ideas, the old attachments, the old ways of thinking about wealth, prosperity, vitality, meditation. So we allow ourselves to change how we feel about everything, how we feel about our meditative state, but also how we feel about creating. When you allow yourself to create from the standpoint of letting go of that dark night of the soul, then it's not lingering or holding you down or presenting limitations and illusions that you're not trying to delve into. But you're trying to look past the deception of the appearances and illusions that present themselves to you. So you earn something I call a presence, a hierarchy, an alignment that is true and regulated and really firm. It's a firm alignment that allows yourself to carry out everything that you want to channel within your own divinity. So every time that you do this, you seem to change everything about yourself, your personality, the way that you go about relationships, the way that you go about experience itself, and the way that you are of service. It means that there's more of an empowered state of knowing oneself when you clear the dark night of the soul. So every time that you do this, you see that when you force yourself to change, or you just cleanse yourself of the impurities that don't want you to transform, or generate so much resistance within yourself that you kind of feel the off energies. That means acknowledgement, that means awareness, that means understanding, that means love and purity that you have for yourself, so that you can see past that the dark night of the soul is not a challenger or an opposition or a problem, but it is just you purifying the psychic senses and really aligning to your psychic atomic energy. So every time that you do this, you change how you go about life, how you go about resonance, how you go about that key signature that wants to be you. You cleanse your aura even, you release blockages, you allow yourself to really channel your light and use your light to the best of your own ability. And what's impactful about this is that it wasn't holding you back, but it was bringing you closer to who you are. So most people, when they talk about the dark night of the soul, they use it in a disempowering way. But a way to be empowered is to see it as a way of loving yourself, as a way of acceptance, as a way of entering into something new, allowing yourself to be a new projection, allow yourself to really channel and attract your highest alignment and your highest divinity. So it allows you to even protect yourself from negative energies or empathic sensations, or feeling as if you're being triggered for a moment and then it kind of just goes away, even though you might be going around places all the time. But it doesn't mean that you have to be everybody else's dark night of the soul. But that means for you to stand up among the rest, to shine very bright, to really stand up and hold your own, is the very fact that you're choosing to shine when everybody else doesn't want to do the hard thing when they're supposed to do it. Nobody wants to do meditation every day. Nobody wants to really live and breathe and walk within the spirit. But if you do, you'll start to realize that you won't go to specific situations or circumstances or experiences, or even go around certain people or individuals or places or things, because you don't see yourself as an object. I think releasing the dark night of the soul really allows yourself to not see yourself as an object. So it's kind of the ability to see yourself encompassed in a destiny-fulfilled state, in a most aligned state, but also a purified state of being where you're not trying to force yourself to change, but you're gradually and really releasing into the change itself. So you're not fighting against the change, you're not fighting against the cause, but you're for the cause. It means that you're aligning to your divinity so that everybody else in the universe can lead by example and really align to their divinity. So the dark night of the soul is not a bad or a good thing. See, what I did there was, it's positive and negative. It's light and dark. It's empowerment or disempowerment. It's lack or unworthiness. So you have a distinction to see that you don't have to choose either of those things, but you can choose to live and laugh and love, even when something is so dastardly or so chaotic within your creation, because creation needs a little bit of chaos to really channel its own divinity. So when you're going through your dark night of the soul, it does not mean that you are a failure, or you're not good at your meditative path, or that you should just give up. But most people feel that way because it's so intense and it's so vibrant, and it's so, in a sense of like feeling like you're releasing everything out of yourself that is not of a good nature, because it does. It feels like you're kind of like putting on the garbage disposal and making sure everything's going down the drain so that it can release itself once again. But a sense of purification, and it's kind of like, it's not just you brushing, but it's you cleaning house and seeing yourself as a temple of source. So I remember I pulled this card a long time ago. It was like the compass cards. It was by like, I can't remember the psychic's name, but the point of the card was that you saw yourself as a house. And it said it was time to clean house. So if you can see yourself as moving out and seeing how when you move all the furniture out and it's just an empty space, there's so much to do there and there's so much more to place there, but you're just moving all of the furniture and boxes and things out of that equation so that you're able to put more stuff in there that represents more of who you are. And you can see it as the vortex, you can see it as imagination or creation or empowerment. You can see it as whatever you like to see it as. But kind of see it as just kind of giving yourself a buffer, kind of giving yourself a rinse, a cleanse, a deep sense of understanding yourself. So I swim in very cold water. You know, it's like 40 or 50 degrees outside. In South Carolina at 30 degrees, I would swim in the water because it's very therapeutic. It's kind of like a dopamine activation, and it feels so good to feel that burn of that cold water and the sensation of that it really allows you to feel different, feel cleansed, feel purified after you leave it. So it's the understanding of like pushing yourself past what you only see perceptible or what feels kind of like comfortable or what feels normal, and not being afraid to try new things all the time and be a better listener, because releasing the dark night of the soul really allows you to be a better listener. It allows you to be more sincere in the way that you receive. It allows you to be more in a state of realization instead of a state of discontent or a state of disempowerment or a state of going against yourself instead of going against the grain and pushing the boundaries. And releasing that dark night of the soul gives us a sense of ownership of who we are, like accountability of what we are, accountable to the way that we project, the way that we emulate. So it's kind of like the distinction that when you separate yourself from that completely, when you separate yourself from that dark night of the soul and you tap into the inseparability of illusion and you really connect to a deeper sense of who you are that you weren't presently knowing yourself to be, in a new paradigm, in a new parallel state of alignment and wanting more and feeling as if you're not necessarily forcing everything and you're trying to do all these other things that are not going to work, but you're trying to find a solution. You know, you're not trying to just find a sense of validation, which most people are on this path. We are trying to find validation. We are trying to find our own zen, our own happiness, our own sense of worth. But the only way to see that is to not feel like you have to get it from something else or another person, or feel like you have to do all these other things to make you happy. You can kind of be happy at this moment in time. Choosing to be happy at this moment in time is loving oneself, is loving yourself here and now. And just kind of letting go of everything that does not make you feel that love within oneself. If you can let go and be sincere, it's the most sincere attempt at sincerity, because it showcases how you're able to see that you're not alone, but you are source reflecting source all the time. And source is never alone. Source is always something. Source is always a reason or an existence or an extension of source energy in some way, shape, or form. So it's kind of like we are not our dark night of the soul. We assume the identity of it. We assume the person that is having that experience. But if you took the person out of the equation, if you took the emotions out of the equation, if you took the thoughts out of the equation, if you took everything out of the equation in that moment in time, you could see that it is not It's an imposter. It's imposter syndrome. It's taking off the mask, in a sense. It's releasing the gremlin out of your system. So if you can think of it in that way, it's kind of like you were playing, it was like when you were a kid and you wanted to dress up for Halloween. Well, at some point you have to take off the costume. Now, some people do live their life as if it's 1950s. Now, that's something different. But what I'm saying is, don't wear the mask and don't feel like you have to take on the character of spirituality, but just allow yourself to delve into your spirituality as it comes to you. And if you allow yourself to do that, then everything in your life will automatically change. It will change in the way that you want it to. Not in a way that is not meant for you, but it will always happen in the ways that is meant for you. So it's kind of like we have to let go of all form and attachment and distinction of what we think we are, instead of just confirming that I am that I am. I am that I can be, and I will be, and I do always. Because then when you use those phrases, it kind of reinforces the very fact that you're just a soul wanting more sense and feeling and understanding. So we are aware always, even when we're not aware, because existence has a reason to exist all the time. And it's a sense of that non-duality of independence, being an independence of awareness. So independent of its own nature, independent of its own separation, but simultaneously you see that you just give your life to Source fully in that moment of bliss, in that moment of purification, and it's as if you're a completely different person. It's like you could be so depressed, so sad, so limiting, and then all of a sudden it kind of changes. It's like a bright new day, and the cloud's not over your head anymore. So the cloud's not over your head and it's not raining, and now it kind of just like pulls out the sky, and then the sun's out, and it's a new day. And it just seems like you've just transcended the human condition, which you have, in a sense. You have transcended the human condition. So it's kind of as if we can change it. But it's not the changing of it, but it's just the elevation of energy. It's just elevating the perception of it. And I gotta be careful or my legs are gonna go to sleep. And if I'm not careful, they will be asleep. But it's just you with God, you with understanding, you with love, and just giving yourself that love in that moment and allowing it to be an experience like no other. Just let it be an experience that you never had. And you won't regret it. So, we are going to be doing some healing energy, integrating the dark night of the soul. I'm White Wolf. I do healing energy and activations. If you want to book private sessions with me, just let me know in the comment section. I do have a $50 special for 1 hour, 1 hour and 30 minutes for 100, 150 for 2 hours. So we do a lot of different hourly specials, and I will be going live around 10 or 11 doing readings and healings. So we are going to integrate the dark night of the soul and allowing ourselves to ascend to 5,000 levels. So feel free to book private sessions as well. Just text me, email me on my TikTok as well, and White Wolf the Oracle, and Facebook White Wolf the Oracle. So. Allow yourselves to heal toxic traits, toxic emotions, expressions, ways of perceiving, ways of projection. And we're going to imbibe the Black Panther energy, helping us with purification, removing blockages, and activating all the chakras and grounding into deep middle Mother Gaia Earth, Archangel's 11 light, who's the one that cleanses our auric field, tapping into God's source energy and the great I am, diving deep into middle Mother Gaia Earth, and allowing yourself to transform into the light of your spirit, into the heart of God, into the heart of the universe, in feeling that feeling of taking off into the rocket. And feel as if you're quantum jumping into different states of consciousness, into different densities of consciousness, into different ways of being the psychic, intuitive investigator in this moment. And just feeling into your creation, feeling into the vibration of knowing, of loving source, of knowing source, of discerning source, and allowance beyond your own personal biases of love for yourself in this moment, and having grace and deliverance. And it's as if you ripped off the mask and there was no more imposter syndrome. There was no more self-sabotaging yourself. There was none of that. There was just you having a clear, distinct knowingness of yourself. A knowingness that transcends everything. Within good health, vitality, wealth, prosperity, love, and patience. Mary Magdalene is helping us rub the essential oils of Source. And Jesus is helping us with a deep sense of a purified state of aura and also a bubble of protection around us. Light codes, reprogramming of the mind, of the body, and the spirit, and we are going to have an elevated state of awareness here and now. Prophetic visions, light codes, downloading light language as well, and allowing yourselves to access the prophecy of yourself. And really feeling into the purification of you being transcended. That there is no conditioning. There is no forcefulness. There is no fight in yourself. But there is only you choosing your own heaven and hell. You can have the dark night of the soul, or you can have the higher self of the soul. And be able to emanate that within your own beingness and have that motivation beyond what you perceive is perceptible, moving past your biases, moving past your ideas and expectations and negative emotions. And as we look internally, we open externally. And when we close our eyes are actually open, wide open, within the way that we want to create. In that moment of that pure state of bliss, of that pure state of ecstasy. And nothing can separate yourself from that. It can't be taken away from you, and it won't be given to you by others, but it can only be accepted, accentuated, and received at this moment in time of that power. And push away what does not allow you to be your preference. Allow the subconscious and the unconscious and the conscious to be deeply connected in such a profound way with this healing energy. And see very clearly, very understood, very childlike, that there is innocence here and now. That there is a pure innocence of how we know ourselves, how we see ourselves, and how we view ourselves here and now. It's changing and aligning your perspective, your perception, but also encapsulating the illusion of now, of the present moment, and feeling into that power, feeling into that ability to just break down whatever does not need to be here, whatever does not need to be there, and just giving ourselves to the divine. And just giving your life to the divine. Allow the divine to use you, allow the divine to serve you, and allow the divine to help you release the dark night of the soul. And know that it does not no longer serve you in your journey. Everyone take one last deep breath. Exhale. And when I snap my fingers, you'll come back to, you'll have a greater sense of clarity. You will know who you are. And you'll become the oracle of love, light, and wisdom, which is God manifested in the human form. So, that was releasing the dark night of the soul. So thank you guys for taking part in this live. Just know that you will get through it. Trust the process. Give yourself grace every single day, whenever you can. Just allow yourself to see whatever you're going through, whatever you're experiencing, it's for the greater good, for the planet, for yourself, for your alignment, for your journey, so that you can become the most parallel self, so that you can become the best version of yourself. And allowance for reception, for self-love, for self-care, and just take time for yourself to soak in that divine glory of God's source energy. And just feel into that divine feminine principle of soaking, of compassion, vulnerability, and being innocent once again. So, thank you guys so much. And also, if you guys want to book private sessions, I do have a $50 special for 1 hour an hour and 30 minutes for 100, 150 for 2 hours. And I'm going to be doing live readings tonight around 10 or 11. It's always an honor to serve you in any capacity that I can, and it's always a pleasure to do these messages. And just know that you don't have to be perfect, but you just have to be aware, and you just have to be yourself, and you just have to live in your own divine skin no matter how you do it, but just do it in the most empowering way and loving way. And know that you're becoming a guide of reality, of spirituality, and enlightening the senses and heightening the senses of awareness. Bliss is something that is a gift, and if we use that gift to the greatest of our abilities, then bliss is automatic in its own way. And just allow yourselves to see that the dark night of the soul is not against you, it's actually for you. And it's just ripping off the mask. No more self-sabotage, no more imposter syndrome. And then the cloud moves away, and then there's sunshine. So if you guys want to book private sessions, feel free to do so. Text me, email me on TikTok, whitewolftheoracle on YouTube and Facebook, and also 10 or 11 p.m. Eastern time zone, I'm going to be going live. Depending on if I have a client at 10, I think I have a client at 10. They haven't messaged me back. So if that doesn't happen, I will be going live. So thank you. God bless. And namaste.